Hi, my name is Ann Edenfield Sweet. I'm the executive director and founder of Wings, and we are so happy you're with us tonight. Tonight we have an incredible speaker. Her name is Sharon Schaefer. She is a mom. She is a wife. She is a grandmother, a motivational speaker. She's a businesswoman. She is a life coach, and she has just done so many wonderful careers. I've known her for many years. She is filled with energy and joy, and is really going to teach us about winning this game of life. So let's learn about this. So Sharon, take it away.
Thank you, Anne, for that wonderful introduction. I am so in love with the Wings for Life program. The things that they do are just amazing, and the lives that are transformed. And my talk with you tonight really is about transforming your life and making it better and finding the joy in your life. I want to talk to you tonight about the tips for winning at the game of life. And I have been in the business of living for quite a long time now. And I think back sometimes to my dark days and the thoughts that would go through my mind and how I would feel depressed, how I would feel anxious, how I would feel insecure. And oh my, I dug in to the life that I wanted to live. And that's what I want you to think about tonight, is to think about the life that you want to live. One thing I want to tell you right up front is don't let your well-being depend on your circumstances. I want you to find the joy. I know that we have all kinds of things going on in our lives that really trip us up every day. I know that we get depressed. I know that we think that we're not worthy. I know that we think all of those things. But you have a choice, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. You have a choice to find the joy. You have a choice to live consciously. You have a choice to learn about judging and how you have judged people and judged yourself all in the past. There was a man who once was alone and imprisoned for a very long time. Some of you may have heard of him. You may have read his book from a very long time ago. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he wrote the book called Man's Search for Meaning. I found that book so transformational for my life because here was a man who had everything taken from him. And here's what he said, and this has always stayed with me. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances and to choose one's own way. That means no matter how alone you might feel, you have the opportunity to find joy, or you have the opportunity to be depressed about it. So Viktor Frankl told a story about a starfish laying on the side of the beach. And this has always impacted me as well, because it's a story about sometimes how we think that we don't matter, that our life doesn't count, and that starfish was picked up by a man on the beach who took it and threw it back in the ocean for that starfish to have life. What does that say to you? How can you interpret that for your life? That whatever you do, and sometimes whatever you hear from another person, can make the difference in your life. So, with that, we're going to start talking about mental mastery. I'm sure that you fill your day with a lot of mind chatter. And what does that mind chatter do to you? Is it positive, good mind chatter, or is it negative mind chatter? Mind chatter can really destroy us. It's the things that we think and we're judging about ourselves and other people that may not be true. So, in terms of looking at how we judge people, I want you to take a look at these tools that I've kind of put together for you about what mental mastery means. Having the tools and skills to use your mind to show up in the world in the way you want to. Think about, are you showing up in the world the way that you want to? Maybe not. But here's an opportunity for you to tune in and look at changing and transforming how you want to show up in the world. And living consciously. This has been one of the mottos of my life where I really began to transform and change my life and be the person that I wanted to be. And that was living consciously, to keep integrity in my thoughts and to choose one thought over another. When we have that mind chatter going on and we're thinking about negative things, I encourage you to think about, where does that come from? What is the need for you to have to think about the negative rather than the positive? Living consciously is a great way to live. It's like one way that I think about it is that, well, let me just back up. I had a friend that was a chronic liar, and it always turned out to be that she was trying to cover that lie by making up stories. And for somebody who's really paying attention, I could tell that she wasn't holding the truth of what her initial statement was. And so living consciously, when you tell the truth, you don't have to make up stories. If you tell the truth, you just don't have to go there. That's all there is to it. So, while we're telling stories, like I'm thinking of my friend who was the chronic liar, I think about how I was judging her. And I could judge her and turn her off and not want to have her in my life anymore. Or I could understand that she had a real problem, that it wasn't about me, it was really about her. And what could I do to try to help her to understand that chronic lying is a cause for people separating in relationships? So when I think about judging, one of the things that I think is really important for us to look at is being fascinated by it. For example, being fascinated by something that somebody does that I'm not really sure how to respond to it, I can say to myself, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. And that's all I really have to say. We are so often not good listeners. And when we're hearing something from someone, we want to think of a response, and we're spending our thoughts and our times trying to respond to that person. And I have learned this really neat trick about just saying, how fascinating. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. And that way, I'm moving from judging to being curious. And then I might be able to open up other questions so that I can, curious questions, so that I can really better understand what that person's point is that they're trying to make with me. So, what do I call that? I call that creative thinking. We need to give ourselves time before we judge people. And if we creatively think and we hold back on our judgments, then we spare ourselves a lot of angst and anxiety. So we want to have judgment as something that is fascinating. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. And we also want to live consciously. So, how do we live consciously? How do we work with those judgments and conscious living? So, I call this growth mindset or fixed mindset. Conscious people have growth mindsets. They think creatively. They move forward in life. They fix the things they can fix, and they don't fix the things they can't fix. Fixed mindset people are really stuck. One of the mottos in my life has been the turtle. I love the turtle for many reasons, but the main reason that I love a turtle is because it taught me a great lesson in life. And that is, listen closely, if you don't stick your neck out, you won't go anywhere. And that's the truth. So, when we think about a fixed mindset, I think about people who are in their shells and haven't stuck their head out to go anywhere, to educate themselves, to learn, to read, to be better, to communicate with other people. Fixed mindset holds us down. We always have room to grow. I am still learning. I still put myself into classes anytime I can take a class, because there's always something to learn. There's always something to gain by learning. And in a fixed mindset, you replay those messages, that chatter, over and over and over again, the same way. And you're not going to move forward with that kind of chatter going on in your head. So with growth mindset, we start thinking about what is an activating an event. I call this the ABCs of reframing your thoughts. A is an activating event. B is the belief. C is the consequences of your decision. So just a little quick example. I have very close friends that we've been friends with for probably 20 years. And my best friend, Linda, passed away. And her husband was really mourning and grieving. And so after her passing about a year ago, we invited him over to the house many times. We checked in on him to make sure how he was doing and so on and so forth. Well, about 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call and he said he was moving to Oregon. And I went, oh no. Part of my friendship and my relationship with his wife, Linda, was going to be gone and missing for me. And so all of a sudden, I found out he had already moved. He didn't call me and tell me. How rude. I just felt that was so disturbing to me, and I went back to my old way of thinking, what did I do? What did I do? I didn't do anything. It's not about me. It was about him. But my belief was I was going to write him off. I wasn't going to have any more contact with him. Pooey, I'm done with that. And so the consequences of that decision would be being pretty selfish myself to do that. And then all of a sudden, I got a text that said, well, I haven't really moved. I'm just up here right now, but I'm coming back next week. So all of my thoughts, all of my thinking about my friend were completely useless thinking. So how many times do we do that? That we get caught up in what someone is, a relationship with someone, and how they're not responding to us or whatever, and we're wasting all of our time thinking about them. So if you're living consciously, you can really think about those conscious decisions that you're going to make. So let's talk about going from being a worrier to a warrior. I've talked a little bit about how I worried about this little insignificant now condition that came into my life. And so I worried about it. I spent some time worrying about it, and that was all wasted time. So when you look at going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, you want to pay attention to what you feel, what you see, what you hear, and take yourself from what if this happens? or what if that happens? You can think of the worst thing that could happen in your life, and you can go, oh, wow, I don't want to go down that road. And then you can also think about the best thing that could happen in your life and where that's going to take you next. And I really encourage you to look at the what ifs on both sides so that you're gaining strength to make the more positive decision and move forward with your life. We've all had consequences for our behaviors. And many of us have suffered consequences that we certainly wish we could have gone back and changed the clock and made our lives different. Well, so paying attention to the consequences and how you felt about them. What are you going to do about making good choices to move forward with your life so that you don't have to have those kinds of significant consequences in your life any longer? It is absolutely, totally possible. One of the things that I think goes along with this thinking is that it's a lot easier to run downhill than it is to run uphill. And so when you feel like you're climbing that mountain, and sometimes we do have to climb those mountains, you can look at the top and know that going downhill is going to be a lot easier. So when we make good choices and we're climbing that mountain to get back where we want to be in our life, it's a lot easier to go downhill than it is to go uphill. Another thing about worrying and the mind chatter that I like to throw out to you is that another one of my great mottos that I live by is that worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. And it's real. I'm not saying that I don't ever worry, but I kind of have a pocket of things that I only worry about. And the things that I worry about most would be my children. If my children are happy, I'm happy. And so I've been able to transform and release a lot of the worry that I've always had in my life. And so just remember that worrying doesn't get you anywhere. And that's having a fixed mindset. You're worrying about the same things over and over again. And you can change those thoughts. You can transform your thinking into having positive thoughts and moving forward. Another thing that I like to use as an example of that, being stuck and having a fixed mindset, is that if you're inside the bottle, if you're inside the jar, you can't read the label. So you don't know what's out there. So if you can release yourself, come out of the jar, come out of the shell, you can read the label and you can begin to find the things that are going to bring you joy. I know sometimes it's hard to talk about joy. Illness, people being incarcerated, people living in poverty, people losing their jobs, people losing a child. All of those things are very, very real. But we have a choice, again, as I said in the beginning, a choice in what your attitude is going to be and how you approach your life. Are you going to look for the positive and focus on the positive? Or are you going to look at the negative and focus on the negative? So, some of the steps that I'm going to share with you about quitting your mind over chatter are 5 things that I've pointed out for you here. One is having the motivation. And I think a lot of people sometimes just don't have the motivation. I've been there, I've done that, it's never worked for me before, why should I try it again? Well, I think we have to take a look at ourselves internally to say, why hasn't it worked? Am I the person that's stopping all these good things from happening in my life? You know, you're living with the should-haves and the could-haves and the need-tos instead of just doing. And again, we talked about the mindset, the fixed or growth mindset, the worry, what ifs or what if, and over regret. Oh, don't we over regret? We regret so many things. And if we let those things hang on to us, we have a long tail behind us to pull along. And it gets pretty burdensome, especially when you're trying to climb back up that hill. The guilt and the shame, we've all been there. We've all lived with it. And one of the things that is through faith, I believe, of things unseen, being able to get rid of that guilt and shame. We don't have to carry that with us all the time. It's such a burden. So I encourage you to think about freeing yourself from that guilt and shame. Whatever it takes, if it takes talking to someone else about it and just releasing it verbally so that you can say the words. If you can do it in your own mindset, that's great too. But try to give up that guilt and shame. It does nothing for you. It doesn't move you forward. It keeps you stuck in that jar where you don't see what is outside that could be so good for you. And then judgments, as we've talked about. Thinking about judgments as fascinating. They're really fascinating. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. A couple years ago, I learned about this. And I'll tell you, it has really done wonders for my life because I don't have to feel like I have to judge people so much, that I can just go from being a good thing or a bad thing. What I'd like for you to do is to think about what is the negative that is going on in your life that you can turn into a positive. Reframing your thoughts. Have you ever thought about reframing your thoughts? Taking a negative and turning it into a positive? I encourage you to reframe your thoughts with some of the things maybe you're picking up from my sharing with you tonight, and that you can turn those negatives into positives. One of the ways that you can do that, and I don't know if you have a notebook in front of you or you're sitting in front of a computer someplace, and you can jot these things down, and if you need them, we can get them to you. But I want you to focus on the positive and say, I want to. What is it that you want to do? Pick one thing, make one choice that you want to do. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better wife. I want to be a better mother, a better sister. I want to be a better employer. Whatever it is, I want to. And then realize that you have the power within you to do that. And say, I get to do this. And I choose to. This is what I choose to do. I can do this. And I look forward to. I look forward to doing this. I look forward to being a better person. I look forward to being a better man, a better woman. And having a positive attitude is completely up to you. When you get out of bed in the morning, and if your first thing is, oh no, another day, I don't know if I can get through the day, well, you're going to have a rough time getting through it. So you can choose to be positive and put those feet on the ground and say, I'm going to be a better person today, and I'm going to do something that's going to move me forward. Well, I'm just going to wrap up here because I think it's time. A couple other things I just want to share with you is that we've talked about worry, mind chatter, having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And just remember that when you worry, you get stuck in your thoughts that aren't serving you. So look for the thoughts that are going to serve you and improve your life and bring you great joy. It's been my pleasure to share with you tonight. And I hope that you can take something from what I've shared with you tonight and make yourself a better person and have a positive attitude.
Wow. Well, I knew we were going to learn a lot, and we're going to have better lives because of all these wonderful things Sharon has been sharing with us. I always like to close with a story, so I'm going to close with a story, and it's called Wealth, Success, and Love. A woman came out of her house and saw 3 old men with long white beards sitting in her front yard. She did not recognize any of them. She said, "I don't think I know you, but you must be hungry. Please come in and have something to eat." "We do not go into the house together," they replied. "Well, why is that?" she said. One of the old men explained, "Well, my name is Wealth." And he pointed to his other friends and pointed to the other one. He said, "Now he's Success and he is Love. Now go in and discuss with your husband which one of us you would like to invite into your home." Well, the woman went in and told her husband what was said. Her husband was overjoyed, and he said, "Oh my goodness, let's invite Wealth in. Let him come and fill our home with wealth." Well, his wife disagreed. "My dear, I think we should invite Success in." Well, their daughter-in-law was listening from the other corner of the house, and she jumped in with her own suggestion. "Would it not be better to invite Love? Our home then would be filled with love." "Well, let's heed our daughter-in-law's advice," said the husband to his wife. "So go out and invite Love to be our guest." Well, the woman went out and asked the 3 old men, "Which one of you is Love? Please come in and be our guest." Well, Love got up and started walking towards the house, but the other 2 also got up and followed him. Surprised, the lady asked Wealth and Success, "I only invited Love. Why are you all coming in?" Well, the old men all replied together, "If you had invited Wealth or Success, the other 2 of us, well, we would have had to stay out. But since you've invited Love, wherever he goes, we go with him. Wherever there is love, there is also wealth and success." So isn't that a beautiful story? I love it. And I was trying to think about a story that would kind of go along with all these wonderful things that Sharon has shared with us. So let's think about these 3 things, and let's put love at the center of everything. Because then, once we have love, we're going to have wealth and success, aren't we? So now, if you are joining us by Facebook or YouTube, this will be the end of the program. If you are with us on Zoom, stay tuned, because we're going to go right into our Zoom programming. So thanks again for being with us tonight. I hope you'll join us next week. We've got a motivational speaker, Ken Jackson, who's going to be with us. He's on our staff, and he's fantastic. So I know we're in for another treat next week. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next Monday, 6 o'clock Mountain Time.